Thank you very much, Tom. And, it's interesting just listening to all of these panelists in the last hour or so and all these speakers. We're talking about innovation and change across a whole range of things, customer experience, et cetera. And as we reflect on this moment in time, it's pretty easy to remember, like, not that long ago, the really sexy part of commerce was all around marketing and demand creation. And some of what we've heard about is changes in that today, but it turns out demand fulfillment, including logistics, is actually the highest and fastest growing cost of e-commerce. Amazon is spending $80 billion last year before all of this hit. So obviously a big target for potential de-investment savings, but also a source of dynamic change and reinvestment. So with me to discuss the challenges and imperatives in this sort of back end of e-commerce are panelists who bring with them a diverse set of perspectives. As a forward-thinking online and offline retailer, we have Celina Johnson, who is president of Amour Vert. From an aggressive 3PL and distributor perspective, we have Ken Beyer, who's president at Ingram Micro. And from an innovative last mile technology provider, we have Michael Weinberg, who's senior vice president at Bringg. And finally, from a retailer manufacturer data perspective, we have Mo Afshar, who's CEO of Pipe 17. So to just kick it off quickly, could each of you give me an intro of yourself and the core areas that you focus on? Let's start with you, Celina.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for
nice background.
Yeah, thanks. So it's the whole story that I can tell you later. But as John mentioned, I'm the president of Amour Vert. We are a sustainable fashion brand founded on the premise that you shouldn't have to trade the beauty and joy that comes from fashion for doing the right thing for the planet. And we operate both online and offline. And, as a result, have thought about demand fulfillment and what it means from a customer experience perspective for a long time. And certainly, the emergence of COVID has caused us to think about those things in a different way. But we are, first and foremost focused on our customers and delivering a great experience to them. And we, can talk more later about what customers want in particular around sustainability in this, post-COVID world.
Thank you. So Ken, same thing, just get a quick background on yourself.
All right, thanks, John. I run the e-commerce logistics business at Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro is a $50 billion global IT distributor, cloud solution provider, and e-commerce logistics. I run the e-commerce logistics business, which is about $4 billion globally, 20,000 associates in 39 countries. Simply put, we focus on simplifying everything behind the buy button. So if you think about forward logistics, returns, repair, resell, recycling, that's what we specialize in. And we work with brands, retailers, mobile operators, enterprises in a variety of industries, including fashion, consumer goods, food and beverage, electronics, etc.
Great, thank you. So over to you, Michael. Just a quick introduction of you and Bringg.
Hi, thanks. So Bringg is the leading global platform for orchestrating deliveries and fulfillment to support unified commerce. We work with various restaurants, grocers, healthcare companies, field service companies across the board to help them make better decisions on their fulfillment and deliveries in real time so that they can continue to grow their revenues and their margins by providing exceptional delivery.
Thanks, and I want to thank you in particular. I think you're calling from a very different time zone.
I am. I'm calling from Israel, where it's now 11 o'clock.
Appreciate that very much. Okay, lastly, Mo, love to hear about you and Pipe 17.
Absolutely. Thank you, John, and thank you, everybody, for joining. So I'm co-founder and CEO of Pipe 17, spent most of my career in the enterprise software and applications space, startups, and a big stint at Oracle. And frankly, the problems kind of you've heard about today really kind of resonate in terms of things we see in the market, which is bottlenecks around data. And to really understand what's going on, you need access to great data. And that's particularly important today and especially in the back end and operations. So at Pipe 17, our purpose is to unclog these pipes and bottlenecks, whether large or small, and we really see access to data and intelligent automation, being more important than ever. So, our perspective is that the distributed e-commerce operations platform connects all of your systems, including ERP, inventory management, and all these things to help you run your business more efficiently and get much better results out of it.
So that's a good segue. Let's start the deeper questions at more of a macro level. So we've heard about a number of really big themes already today, some of which you guys touched on. Speed, big theme, not just speed of delivery, which I think has been a big focus for the last couple of years. And, we've heard about that over and over again, but also agility and nimbleness for the companies themselves. We've heard about safety. So as maybe something that goes in parallel with speed. And also security. We just heard about COVID certification of some kind, but as this need for safety and speed, security is an increasing need along with speed. Sustainability, you talked about it, Celina, but I think this is something that, as we're all watching the rabbits come out of the woodwork in our neighborhoods, we're realizing it's not just a sustainability and making sure that we have durable strategies, but sustainability for the planet as we take sort of this long pause. Personalization, and control, handing control to consumers is an extreme sort of increasing expectation that they have. And finally, Mo, you talked about automation. Whether that's business process automation or physical automation, and the intelligence and data that's an enabler to hopefully generate some of that efficiency. So all of these were out there as COVID got started. Before that, it'd be great if each of you could pick or name what you see as the most important and imperative driver of change that nobody can ignore, and kind of what's your bet? What's broken, and what are you guys betting on for the future? Let's start with you, Ken.
Great question, John. I think one thing you definitely can't ignore is that e-commerce adoption in the last 3 months has probably accelerated by 10 years. If you think about it, it took 25 years for us to get to 15% of total retail, and now we're at 25% within 3 months. And so the question that I think a lot of people ask is, why have some brands and retailers thrived in this kind of a economy and others haven't? And from my perspective, looking at it from a logistics perspective, for the first time, I think people are finally focused on logistics and say, logistics is finally sexy because it's such a big part of success in e-commerce. And if you just look within our customer base at Ingram, those that succeeded with a really good supply chain, on average, saw 94% of their in-store sales move online. And that's without any promotions, sales, et cetera. And some of our digitally native brands saw over 400% of the normal volumes across multiple regions. So unfortunately, that wasn't everyone's experience. And there's a couple of reasons. And in addition to the fact that over 50% of the reason why people abandon a shopping cart online is related to logistics issues. For example, if you can't get it free or next day, you just go somewhere else to get it. But during the pandemic, what we've seen is if you were in a single fulfillment center and it went down because of COVID or some other reason, you were out of business essentially. You couldn't sell in your stores and you couldn't sell online. Other people were solely dependent on Amazon. And so when Amazon just focused on shipping critical products or essential products, their business was deeply affected. So I think what this lockdown has shown us is, if it's a beta test and it'll be over soon, great. It showed there's a lot of areas that you as a brand or retailer can work on and fix. However, if it is the new normal and we're going to stay at 20% e-commerce going forward, anyone who isn't investing in a multi-site automated e-commerce logistics infrastructure today isn't going to survive.
Thanks, Ken. Obviously, worthwhile sort of imperative for us to think about. Michael, what do you think is sort of if you were to pick one key driver or one key bet that you think either you are already making or that needs to be made, what would that be?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting question, and I think the 4 pillars that we're talking about really are 4 sides of the same imperative. and that's the imperative to stay agile and continue to provide improved delivery experience. As Ken pointed out, we've accelerated e-commerce growth in 10 weeks as much as we have in the past 10 years. So things are moving very quickly. And to a large extent, these are just accelerations of trends that we've already seen in the past. And so businesses today are thinking about the best ways to remain agile and to continue to be adaptive to what's happening in the market. We're seeing a surge in curbside and the creative ways in which our customers are using their staff, their kitchens, their parking lots in order to be able to fulfill better and to stand up to the cutthroat competition, as Ken pointed out, and customer expectations are changing. And in our mind, this is not a passing trend. We've seen so much adoption of deliveries and ordering online. And once you experience that convenience, we don't see that reversing back to anything like pre-COVID. So this is just the beginning. And I think more and more of our customers are realizing that they need to create a strong infrastructure and to digitize their operations and to really start connecting the different pieces of their logistics to truly be able to support with the delivery experience what's happening with everything in unified commerce.
Terrific. So again, sort of all this changing expectations is putting pressure on the need to have a great fulfillment experience in some way. Celina, do you want to talk a little bit about, what you see or even what you're betting on as sort of in the middle of this is like the most important trend that you think will either get you through or drive you to the next, level of success?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of key things, but first and foremost, I would take it all the way back to overall customer experience. And what is it that we're offering at a macro level to the customer, and what is that experience that they are having, as they relate to the brand from like the first moment to the last moment, and that absolutely includes fulfillment as part of it, and some of the other topics that you touched on. But we're really taking a step back and saying, what is it that we offer our customers? Like, what do we give them uniquely that they can't get elsewhere? And then how do we deliver that to them in a way that matches where they are currently, both literally and figuratively? And I think that that's changed a lot, both in terms of where people are physically, but also where their mindset is. And so it's really going back to kind of the core purpose of the product and the brand, and thinking about like, what is it that we offer our customers, and then being able to adapt our product offering and our delivery offerings in a way that delivers that same benefit to the customer, but the way that it looks is totally different because the world is a different place. And I think that, for us, and I think for a lot of brands, it's really about looking inward and trying to distill down, like, what is it that we really offer customers, and being really clear on that, and then figuring out how do we now deliver that to them in a landscape that looks very different. And then I guess...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I can't not talk about sustainability because it's, in the very fabric of our brand and our company from the beginning. And I think that overall that all customer purchases are going to be much more considered than they have in the past. And I think this is accelerating a trend that was already there in terms of customers really caring about the impact on the environment of the purchases that they're making. And really also taking a step back and thinking about, like, do I need this thing before they buy anything? And I think there really is a shift in consumer behavior that is happening and will continue to happen as a result of that, and that the impact of any given buying decision on the planet, I think it has jumped much higher in customers' consideration sets as they're thinking about where they want to put their very carefully considered dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that from so many people, both from actually the amount of resources people are going to have to spend, but also their awareness now, having not done so much, like, do they really need it? So that's a key theme. So Mo, how about you? I mean, from a from your perspective, and in the world of data and technology that you sit, sort of what do you think the most important imperatives are and key bets?
Well, I think the biggest drivers of change, I think one of them is the changing consumer behavior, and Celina really touched upon this slightly earlier, and just the unpredictability of the demand curves, and Tom Bishop talked about this earlier as well. I think our biggest takeaway is, look, winners out there aren't using spreadsheets all day. People need to do less and have more impact, and our fundamental view is data and connected systems that eliminate bottlenecks are really the big bet that everybody needs to make in terms of readiness. Just as an example, one of the companies we work with, consumer brands, food category, they saw a 3x increase in sales. And of course, what they realized through this exercise was that, the disconnected systems that they had were really struggling, right? And they weren't able to keep up with this demand. So that really kind of reinforces the fact that data and connected systems and automation are key. And our view is control is the currency of the future. Everybody needs control.
So if you're in a company, you need control, in order to be flexible, and you can't get that without the right data.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we only have like 2 minutes left. So I want to go back and go down to the micro, and again, taking up Jim Donald's point about stories. I'd love to hear just quickly from each of you a story that you may have, either from your own experience or from one of your clients or a company you see out there who's doing it right. Because I think what you left with, Mo, is readiness. So in a way, behind all this, if you get the customer experience and understand them, and you're one of the beneficiaries who gets tons of new demand, are you ready for how that demand is going to be fulfilled differently? Who's doing it right, and what can we learn from them? So let's start with you, Michael.
Sure. So many different stories to choose from, and we're seeing so many adaptations to the situation from companies that used to deliver strictly with their own fleet and now looking to integrate and augment their deliveries with third parties, or looking to grow. And we have stories with restaurants that tripled their own fleets because they didn't want to suffer the margin cuts that marketplaces cost, the 30% off the top line. So they tripled their own fleet and got to 6x delivery power, and were able to really salvage some margin there. But I think one of my favorites is Panera Bread's, which essentially overhauled their delivery operations and asked us to help them orchestrate their fulfillment and delivery. And they did something very creative where they were starting to use store associates to double as delivery people as well as kitchen personnel, and really embrace the challenge of stepping up to the challenge of getting customers the better fulfillment options, better delivery options to meet their expectations, and reconfigure their business and in a connected way, as some of the other panelists have said, really integrate everything, their kitchen operating systems, their delivery staff, third-party fleets, everything is integrated. In other retail examples, inventory comes into that play and really creates an efficient, exceptional experience for their customers.
So thank you. We're running right out of time, so I'm going to ask for one more story. Ken, can you highlight an example, and then maybe just closing words from Mo and Celina, if you want to put out a last word.
Yeah, real quick, I'd say that the people that we see who are successful during this pandemic did exactly what this webinar is about. They moved very quickly and decisively from defense or protecting their business to offense, and that is, finding opportunities to focus on the short tails we heard in the last panel, your top products, getting them out, repositioning them. The people that did that the fastest and most decisively are the most successful.
Thank you. Celina, do you have any 3, 4 final words you want to share with everybody? And same for Mo.
I mean, I would just say it always comes back to the customer, and, really understanding what does the customer need and what do they want, and thinking about that in the context of a rapidly changing and uncertain environment.
Thank you. And Mo?
I think more than ever today, you need control. And whether you're running spreadsheets, QuickBooks, NetSuite, ERP, Shopify, Amazon, you need to have seamlessly connected systems that give access to data to those that need them to make the right kind of decisions.
All right. Hey, thanks to all of you for all of those perspectives, all of those feel like, I liked Michael, your 4 legs of a stool that are all this same stool about being agile and ready. So I think we gave us great food for thought for all of you. And I'm going to hand it back to Tom Furphy for our musical interlude, I think.